Welcome, Solarah here. I hope you guys are doing well today. I first and foremost want to thank you for being here. Thank you if you are a brand new subscriber. We are growing. Thank you so much. Thank you to all of you who, helped out by sending me screenshots, sharing your own experiences with the craziness of the algorithm right now. I do appreciate you guys. Thank you for chiming in the last video and putting below amounts of views, etc., etc. Thank you for all the ways that you assisted in that. I really do appreciate you. Welcome if you are a returning subscriber, whether you've been with me from the beginning or you've joined somewhere along the way. I thank you for being here, and I thank you for being here not only on my channel, but I thank you for being here during this monumental shift of the ages. It's happening because of you. Yes. I do have some downloads I'm going to get into tonight, and I'm going to pull some cards. And before I do that, I do want to thank all of you beyond that for all of your support of my Substack. Thank you to those of you who've been showing up for my daily word for your day with Solarah. If you're not aware, I'm doing daily messages every day until the end of the year. They're totally free. I have been posting the link for those on the community board, so feel free to check them out and to join us at any time. You can become a member to receive free content from me through Substack, where every single day when I publish those messages, they will come directly to your inbox. Okay, so I will be offering that as a service and a gift to the collective until the end of this year. Okay. As far as the free mentorship goes, I will be choosing someone from that reading. If you're not aware, the reading, not the one right before this, but the one before that, something about the shift in timelines, the video with that title. If you are interested in putting yourself in the draw to receive a free one-to-one mentorship with me, courtesy of, it's in celebration of when I reach 10K, then please go to that video and simply put a blue heart. And I'm going to give it a couple more days for people to do that, and then probably on Tuesday night, which I think is like the 28th of November, I will probably go through and I will, write down every single name, put it in a hat, and by next week I will let you know who has won the opportunity to have a one-to-one mentorship with me. I will also be giving away a few free subscriptions, a few free one-year subscriptions to my paid content on Substack, a few free 6-month and 3-month subscriptions as runner-up prizes for my Substack. So please stay tuned for that. Okay. Let's see. Whew. Okay, so a few downloads. Very interesting energy we are in right now. I did say that as we moved into Sagittarius season, there would be monumental shifts that we'd begin to feel a lot more. And it's not that we weren't going through a lot of shifting energy through Scorpio season. It was just the nature of what was occurring. It was more of an internal, like a clearing shifts. And now the shifts that we're entering into are more about moving us higher and moving us forward. And that is going to be completely commensurate to how much we have utilized the power of that clearing and that cleansing action of Scorpio season to rise and to even integrate and alchemize what my guides were calling the Phoenix activations. Yes. So what is occurring right now is, well, a few things, many things. One thing that was coming through is that what they experience as power by stealing from you now is becoming their pain. So what they were experiencing as power by stealing from you is now becoming their pain. So those beings who were profiting off of your pain by disempowering you, what is happening now when they try to do that is that they are experiencing they're going to be tapping into painful situations. So once upon a time when they would tap into some of you, they would be able to lay access to your power, and they would use that for, you know, their own self-aggrandization and all manner of things that they do, you know, with our energy in this matrix, right? But now for many of you, when they try to do that, what they will be, because you've recovered so much of yourself, recovered so much of your own power for yourself, and because of where we are in the ascension, what they're actually tuning into are the very states they tried to put you into in order to disempower you, to steal your power. So they're actually tuning into pain. And the reason this is happening is because the matrix is being unplugged. 1944, as I say that. So if you hang out with me on Substack as one of my members, then you know that I wrote about this a few days ago. And that is that I got a download about how many of these beings through the Scorpio window have lost complete protection and access to their guardian and their birthing angels. Now, we all have guardian and birthing angels, right? We all have these high vibrating beings, these high vibrational beings that when we enter into the matrix, we are assigned based upon a lot of the time, you know, the date that we're born, our own past life experiences, the time we're born, the day we're born, the month we're born. There's so many different ways we're aligned to high vibrational beings that are here to kind of be our guardians and our protectors and our guides. And a lot of these beings had already, it seems they'd already lost a lot of protection that would have been afforded them through, you know, ancestors. A lot of them don't have protection from deities, you know, not from ascended masters. A lot of them, any protection that they've gotten from other entities has been through offerings, through sacrifices. In other words, their protection wasn't, the protection they had left wasn't really innate, except for some of these energies that technically aren't really supposed to leave us. Now, your guardian angel, your birthing angel, these higher vibrational beings that have been assigned to you are here to help you rise. And they're always around us, right? But we don't always tune into their energy or into their voices, because a lot of the time the matrix teaches us that those energies don't exist. You know, we don't know how to hear how to tune into the voices of our guides a lot of the time. But they are always there, and the only reason we don't hear them is because a lot of the time we silence them through our own self-doubt, our own feeling of not being powerful or not being worthy, or we silence them through the decisions, the free will decisions we make to move away from our divinity, whether that is through the denial of who we are, or whether it is by the dissension from who we are through making choices that harm ourselves, others, and the earth. So for many of these beings, it's not like these guardian and birthing angels were still, they were still actively, you know, having conversations with them if they ever did tune into that energy at all. But it's more like those energies were there to help them, to help lead them into repentance. Now, repentance is simply when you begin to realize you're not living in divine alignment. You are harming yourself, you're harming others, you're harming the earth. You are going against your own divine value. You're going against the divine value system that is here to protect us all. And so in doing so, you have to course correct. And so all of us were doing that to a certain degree. We were doing it on unconscious levels, whereas a lot of these other beings are consciously choosing to put people in situations to harm them so that they have personal gain. But for you, that wasn't the case. It was making unconscious decisions to deny your power because for a season you didn't know who you are, right? So Um, the guardian and birthing angels, and even many of our guides, are here to help us get back on divine track, right? So they always are there to offer us the opportunity to turn away from the behaviors, the mindsets that are contributing to us living below our divine value, or tuning into energies where we're harming ourselves, others, and the planet, or Mama Earth. Now, what is occurring when I say that the Matrix is unplugging is it feels like any and all energy that is connected to Source, any and all energy that would allow people to find their way, or beings to find their way back to Source energy, is being stripped from them. So first and foremost, a lot of them are being completely unplugged from you, because the way they were able, if you listen to my last story time with Auntie Solarah, I broke it down. The way they were able to energy harvest was because they were using you as a supply, because you're still plugged into Source. Now, we are being moved out of the way, but now it feels like there's a grand unplugging where every single energy that afforded them the opportunity to come back into divine alignment is being shut off. They're being cut out of it. And scripture in the Bible, it speaks about when you no longer can repent, it's because you've been given over to a reprobate mind, right? And that means that you literally don't have the ability, because of the choices that you've made over and over again, to not honor divine integrity and divine order. Every single time a being makes a choice to go against what they, internally they know is right, because we all have this internal compass that is here to guide us. And the only reason some beings are able to get away and feel nothing for, like, when they do really horrible things, is because they've turned that off over time. And let me tell you that some of these beings, it's not that they've just turned it off over this lifetime. They've turned it off over multiple lifetimes. They've made decisions over multiple lifetimes, incarnations, timelines, where they literally silenced that voice, that true voice of reason that's there to help them come back into union with Source. They've silenced it time and time again in order to get something material. They've silenced the voice that led them back to eternal life, helping them to reconnect with the fullness of Source, and therefore who they are as immortal beings. They silence that in order to get matrix, material, temporal trinkets, because this world, this earth, this matrix always was due to pass away. Because like I said in the previous video, you cannot sustain a finite construct. The matrix was created to limit energy, right? It was created to limit energy so that these beings who chose to move away from Source could play God. So they had to limit other beings' energy, because they're not limitless beings. So in order to rule over other beings, they had to limit them too. Now, whenever you limit something, you are capping it off and out of its limitlessness or its infiniteness. So in other words, the matrix was built upon a structure that was designed to limit and constrict energy. Okay, so as such, it always was going to die, because it's not infinite, it's finite. So the day was always going to come when it would implode, it would self-implode. The day was always going to come when the time, because time only exists in this plane because of the limitations placed upon this realm, this dimension, whatever you want to call it. There was always going to be a time when time itself would run out. And that time is now. And so it's like It's almost like, you know, when you are about to demolish a building and everything's been cleared out, all the furniture has been moved, there's no more people in there, and then the next thing to do, I would imagine, would be to strip the building of all power supply. Right, you would disconnect it from all sources of power, electricity, water, gas, all of those things that were running to that building are no longer going to run, because that building is getting ready for demolition. Okay, so that's what it feels like right now, although there is like an overlap of energy, because the matrix is not a standing building anymore. It is already falling down, but it feels like every area where it was still benefiting off of any source of divine intervention is being stripped. So it's being stripped from these beings who have chosen through their own free will choices to give themselves away and over to a reprobate mind. And for many of them, they're entering into this state very rapidly because of what they did in the last cycle. So I kept on telling you guys, you know, about how through Scorpio season, we were getting so many angelic activations that were coming through. They were coming through in general. They were heightened during the 11/11 portal, the new moon in Scorpio. All of these angelic activations, I was picking up on this seraphinic DNA that was activating in us, which the seraphinic DNA is not just connected to the angelic realms, but also the dragon energy. It was all coming alive as, you know, heaven and earth became interlinked by way of us, the rainbow bridge, right? And that's another energy that's been coming through. Before I forget, there's a lot of rainbow bridge activations coming through right now, especially through this full moon in Gemini window. I will dive into the energies of that on my other channel, Solarah Rises, when I do the full moon in Gemini Tarot Astrology Ascension report. So make sure, if you want to learn about what this full moon is doing for us and how the planets are supporting us in this shift, make sure to check out that video when I air it and I post it. I will put it on the community board. But I was speaking about through Scorpio season how we were getting all of these angelic activations, right? And the angelic and then the dragons, the dragon energies of the ley lines. It's like everything is being supported to bring, you know, I don't even know how to explain it. It's that scorpionic energy of the underworld and heaven meeting together to bring back some kind of balance and harmony that has been lost through the fuckery that has been enacted for millennia on this plane, right? So it feels like a lot of these beings, once again, were trying to intercept our ability to receive these angelic activations, these DNA activations that ultimately are here to reconnect us with our ability to utilize our multidimensional power, codes, and access to once again travel, recover our divine resources, recover what they've called supernatural or superhuman powers that are really just our birthrights. These activations are here to help to elevate us into a high enough frequency that we can be able to once again begin to access all of this. And so, you know, the powers that were and the cronies that they've left to run their little experiment called the Matrix, they're very aware of this because this isn't anything new. This is something that happens every Scorpio season. It's just very heightened right now because of where we are and because it's an ascension, right? So this is something that they do every year. They intercept this. This is why they use the Scorpio energy to open death portals and to do all manner of things. And it's very intentionally to target beings who are connected to the angelic and the dragon realms, to stop them from being able, to stop us from being able to stream this energy into the earth and to activate it amongst one another and to ground it into reality, so that the energies and the consciousness of the earth goes through this grand shift, right? So it feels like they were up to their fuckery and their shenanigans once again, because these arrogant beings don't don't learn. And some of them, it's not even that they don't learn. It's just like, if we're going to go down, let's go down with a bang. Let's go down fighting. Let's go down taking as many down with us as we're able to. That's their mentality also. So, you know, they did this, and in doing that, every time they continue with these attacks, what they're ultimately doing at this point is they're speeding up ascension. So what that actually garnered them is, while they tried to intercept our angelic activations, what actually occurred was that they intercepted any kind of angelic protection that was being afforded them at this point, because we've gotten enough people in a high enough frequency that that kind of thing can begin to occur now, where the grand stripping and the unplugging of these energies we can do that now. And what's going to continue to occur with that is that it is contributing to the matrix dying faster, but not only to it dying faster, but to people becoming more aware, because the veil is coming down. These things that could be hidden before and could be covertly manipulated to make us think and to see things that weren't really as they truly are, all of those mechanisms of manipulation are dying, because the energies that they used to use in order to do that, they can't plug into anymore. They can't plug into you in order to feed their illusions. So everything is dying faster. And now for some of them, when they try to even use their old mechanisms of plugging in or tapping in or siphoning, what is occurring is that they are getting the opposite effect. It's like going in and wanting to cash out and, you know, to get cash and getting, I don't know, like, I'm seeing like this black oozing nasty stuff coming out instead. And the thing is that it's almost like they were going to take that cash in order for it to pay for that black oozing stuff to be in your reality, and they can't. They're just going in to do these things, to make these transactions energetically, and they can't anymore. They're just getting back more of the shit that they've tried to place upon you, but not only more of the shit that they're trying to place upon you, but more of the shit that is kicking back to them now too, if that makes sense. So another message that was coming through is that there is a resetting of the golden ratio back into divine settings. So if you know anything about the golden ratio, you know, Fibonacci series and all of that stuff, then you'll know that on a scientific or a mathematical level, this is the number and the patterning that they say repeats throughout everything in nature. Okay? Now, the reality of that is that might have been very much the case in the Matrix, absolutely. But everything in the Matrix was distorted. And I spoke about this during Taurus season, when I was talking about some of these divine partners coming back into union who held the original energetic like blueprints for the earth, and the importance of them coming back together, because them coming back together and coming into sync was going to set off activations through them into the earth planes that was going to alter the fear frequencies that have been controlling us. Now, in that reading, I spoke about how even animals have been programmed out of their natural state by this matrix fuckery. They have been programmed into fear states, because once upon a time we lived peaceably together with the animal and the plant kingdom, and they trusted us. The animals trusted us, the plants trusted us, because we didn't live out of balance. We weren't consumers back then. We lived in harmony. We would not take without giving. We wouldn't strip without replanting. And so as such, we lived in harmony with all of life. And as such, there was a language exchange that would occur between us and the plants and us and the animals. We could speak to them and they would speak to us, and we weren't separated by all of this fear that became a part of the matrix construct. So although animals and nature may not have been affected in the same way as human life on this planet, they were. And so when these divine partners come back into union, especially by way of sexual alchemy, there are certain activations that they're going to be able to stream through that alchemical union that activates them on the earth planes as well as other beings, but also brings in certain golden age activations that are necessary to reset the earth back into its original like a divine settings where we all live together harmoniously. And this is why there's been such an attack, not only against us personally, but against our ability to come back together in divine union. Those of you who have, true divine partners and you have a mission. The reason why there's this constant separation, the reason why they even introduced this idea of a twin flame, which is true, but it's not, because the way they've taken it and they've taken it because this is what they always do. They take a little bit of truth, the truth that is going to resonate with your heart and resonate with your soul, and they get you with that little bit of truth, and then they add certain distortions to play on your woundedness to keep you once again stuck in a cycle. Right? So the whole twin flame dynamic was very purposely, not the dynamic, but the twin flame narrative was introduced into the spiritual community the way it was, very purposely, in order to distract us from true divine unions, because they knew if they could get many people on these karmic wheels of woundedness, even if it is the person, even if the person that you're on this like wheel of woundedness with is actually your divine partner, it doesn't matter. They want to keep you cycling through the karmic loop, never really getting to a place of true inner union. And to that extent, they utilized all manner of things to keep separation a reality, right? So even now, you can see, like, in the mainstream, everyone's talking still about twin flames. I saw a fucking Tinder commercial for twin flames. Really? On Tinder? Are you fucking kidding me? Are you literally fucking kidding me? Anyway, that's a whole other thing, right? And then, I think there's a Netflix documentary on it. Now, there's just so much stuff in the commercial sphere. It was in Hollywood, it's in magazines. This is how you know that something is not pure. And even if it had a pure beginning, it's gone way off track. And that, again, is to cause a distraction from our ability to really come back into inner union in order for union with a divine partner to occur, for this alchemical marriage to happen that is so necessary, not because, we feel like we are incomplete without another person. Fuck a bunch of that. It's not even about that. It's literally about the reactivation of DNA strands. It's about the reactivation of energies that have not been able to exist on this planet since the previous golden age. It's about the reactivations that allow for us to once again live in harmony with one another. But here's the thing, you can't get to that place with another being until you first access it in self, which is what all of these shenanigans, the fuckery, the spells, all of this has been about now. And it feels like we are coming, we're coming on an energetic level. We're coming to a close. And when I say on an energetic level, what I mean is that this is available now for many of us. It's available for you to rise into this place where you can come into true union with a divine partner. It's available for you to have this alchemical marriage brought about by the sexual alchemy that you're going to wield with that partner. It's possible. It's possible because it's based upon frequency. You see, what they've tried to do at every level is disable you so you don't get to a higher frequency and sustain it. But this has always been a frequency game. It's always been a frequency game. So they always want to make you think that what they have is bigger than what you have, but they don't have. They only have the ability to mess with your mind and to even in the playing with the physical, like the poisoning, all of that other stuff. Yes, it sucks, but at the same time, the powers that you have are so much greater. They're so much greater than anything these beings can fucking throw your way. But if you're constantly being thrown under the lie, you don't get to access that truth and you don't get to sustain that frequency. So really, this whole battle, this whole game has been about keeping you from climbing in frequency and sustaining it. So the reason I say that energetically it's available now is because it's available for as long as you are able to climb higher and sustain the frequency that is necessary to access it. Because this is the beauty of ascension. It's energetic, meaning that all of these beings that have been manifesting off of other people's energy, and I spoke about this briefly in the other reading. You'll notice I very rarely use the word manifesting unless I mean it. Because manifestation is when you are able to draw or open an opportunity for yourself based upon an energy that already is in existence. Whereas if you are a divine being, you are a creator, meaning that there are times when you can and you should manifest, absolutely. But you also, because you're connected to Source, you have the ability to call things in and create ex nihilo, as they say, something out of nothing, seemingly. That's the ability you have as a creator. Now, the reason why everywhere you turn you hear about manifesting is because manifesting, when done out of balance, contributes to the energy harvesting cycles that keep us locked in karmic cycles of the matrix. So it was to their advantage to have everybody all of a sudden begin to tune into this energy of being able to manifest. And I say all of that because the beings who, seemingly in this cycle have seemed to accumulate things because they're manifesting gurus, right? I'm so good at manifesting, all that other shit, right? A lot of that stuff they're going to lose because if you have not learned how to connect with your ability as a divine being to create, if you haven't reconnected with that, if you're still riding on the waves of manifestation, then you're not going to be able to climb into the frequency, the next level of frequencies, because you cannot climb to certain frequencies by using other people's energy to get you there. I hope this makes sense. This is why at every level, when you shift higher, you will often be called to leave certain things and people behind because they're no longer on the same frequency with you. And if you don't do that, what you're going to do is you're going to drag yourself down, but you're also going to drag them down because you're not giving them the opportunity now to go through the experience of rising on their own terms. You see, this ascension game is, especially this part, it is extremely individual. Extremely individual. We're here to rise back into our personal frequency. And when we get into our personal frequency and we're able to sustain that, and that's where we want to kind of vibe, that's when we begin to draw in the things that match that. The Matrix teaches you to do things the other way around, to go after certain things, go after your soul tribe and all this other stuff. When you get to where you're supposed to go on ascension, when you get back to your frequency, your own personal frequency, everything that's supposed to align with that will come into alignment with you. This is why right now everything seems really like cray-cray. You get what I'm saying? Because we're all ascending at different rates. Some people are making huge leaps. Some people are finding where they are and they're liking where they are and they're staying, and that's cool too. But until we get to a place where the energies begin to settle and the dust begins to settle, then will be the time to start to build like soul tribes and all of that. So I say all of that because there's a lot of ways that we can be trapped into thinking that we're moving somewhere and we're not, because we are not fully aware that this part of the journey is intensely personal. Okay? And the reason it's intensely personal also is because we have to recover our own individual divine frequency that then also aligns us with our divine partner. Which is why a lot of the time, many of you who are really getting ready for divine partnerships, you've been on this road alone. And I'm not just talking about like romantically, I'm talking about alone. Because it was so important for you to clear out these matrix programs, these paradigms, these relational programs that the matrix and even, like matrix spirituality, because that exists too. It's very rampant. Matrix indoctrinations connected to spirituality had us believing, because the truth of the matter is that the answers for everything must be found within. And so what the matrix wants you doing is, if it can't stop you from moving up, it still wants to control how you do that. And so this is why it infiltrated a lot of spirituality in order to get you once again to look to a group, to look to a person, when the truth of the matter is the true stripping down and unplugging of the matrix is a deeply intimate and personal thing that you have to do alone. And only once you've done that are you ready. I don't know if the tracking went off. I don't give a fuck if it did. I'm sorry guys, but I don't. I apologize to you, but I'm not going to stop. And if it didn't, great. If it was just trying to fucking distract me, fine, whatever. But it's a deeply personal journey for that reason, okay? Because what it is that so many of you are possibly walking into with these divine partnerships, it couldn't be contaminated again by ego. You see, the very thing that destroyed these partnerships, these partners, these divine partners who there was a schism put between them that caused this matrix to come into existence to begin with, it was egocentric. It was woundedness that started to be introduced through mental magic and exploitation of that. And there had to be this testing, this trying, this clearing, this cleansing on an individual level where people truly realign back to the fullness of their individual truth. I hope I'm making sense here, because we're not compromising the new earth. We're not compromising this possibility and this opportunity again. And this is why even in this shift, there are many of us who had divine masculines who did not make the cut. There are some that didn't make it way back. And there are some that didn't make it recently, and there are some that didn't make it in, one of the last rounds of divine contracts, which came through the Gemini season window with the new moon in Gemini, and now we're coming up to the full moon in Gemini. So that something's coming up again when it has to do with divine contracts. And if certain beings haven't been able to do the intense, personal, individual work that disconnects them from the matrix, that disconnects them from following the commands of the matrix, because they're so ingrained within, and they haven't been able to let go of certain things because they're afraid, or because of some kind of material benefit they were getting, or some kind of opportunity they thought was opening up for them. There's so many ways that beings opt back in to these cycles, and they can seem really benign, but when you're at this point of ascension, when so much is getting ready to be established in order to lay the foundation of what the earth is going to be for the next, couple of millennia, then it's kind of a big deal who makes the cut. So I say all of that because all of this is happening. There's so much going on at once to prepare for a reset of the earth back into the true golden ratio that was lost due to the impact of the fear frequencies and the distortions it caused on everything and everyone. So there's a destruction of spells and fear frequencies that were used to tamper with nature. And designed to tamper with the divine settings of the earth for the purpose of siphoning, for the purpose of energy harvesting, for the purpose of limiting our abilities by those who willfully chose to disconnect from source energy, and so needed an ongoing energy supply, and so trapped us into this reality where they limited us to free up our infinite energy so they could feed. Whew, okay. Let's get into some cards. Put this down. Ooh. I felt a lot of resistance as I was speaking that. It's not surprising. Let's go into this deck. I don't go into it very often, but let's go into it. Let's see if we get any messages here. Oops. This is the Star Codes Astro Oracle. Oop. A lot of cards. So here we go. Scorpio. We do have Scorpio. We're just coming out of Scorpio season. These Phoenix activations. You see, and this is where all the signs work together. This is why, like I've said in previous video, I said this, you can't hate on a sign without hating on yourself, because all of the signs work to help us to ascend, and all of the signs are in our charts, even if we don't have planets there. They rule different houses and different aspects of our reality and who we are, and for a good reason. And so all the signs work together to help us to rise. And so when we hate on a sign, we're hating on the very power that is assisting us to rise. So I say that because as we move from Scorpio season into Sagittarius season, it's interesting because that last window of Scorpio really is speaking to me more and more about preparation for the Phoenix energies. But the Phoenix energies are, the inception is the Scorpio energy, but the taking it out into the world is Sagittarius. And so the phoenix begins to be born in us through Scorpio, but it's actualized through the energy of Sagittarius. And so we have Scorpio at the bottom of the deck. Ooh, we do have retrograde coming out. We have review, retrograde and review, but I'm getting so much more from this energy than just that. Some of you are being reconnected to information about yourself, so your own Akasha, but also reconnected to the universal libraries right now at this point. So it's almost like they're showing me, as we get disconnected, as there's more disconnecting happening, unplugging of the matrix, many of us are being plugged in higher. And some of you are regaining access to levels of your Akashics that you might not have been able to access on a lower frequency, but also you're getting your past back into like the universal libraries, is what they're showing me. There could be a lot of serious activations coming through, as I say, universal libraries, serious graduations, graduating energy also, especially with this review. The review comes before the test or before the graduation. Before the test that comes before the graduation. But I really do feel like some of you are being like synced back into the universal libraries, and some of you are holders of universal records. It's in your energy field. I often will come across that in, when I do people's personal tarot astrology, that you're holders of scripts, you're holder of scrolls, universal scrolls and scripts that hold universal wisdom and knowledge. It's literally in your energy, and it's time for it to be activated. It's the activation of this that helps to bring forth it's like to bring forth new earth law and order, is kind of what it is. New earth law and order, which again is going to have to align with universal law and order in integrity. You see, the Matrix got away with a lot of stuff because they used loopholes to try to fool us, magic and fuckery and all manner of things. So while they lived, like they kind of skirted their way around universal law to make it possible. It wasn't in integrity. And so there's something here about some of you like re-accessing these universal libraries in order to stream and to bring back onto the earth planes and to bring forth the new earth law and order that aligns with universal order and integrity. We do have Jupiter, which is interesting because of course Jupiter is a planet that rules Sagittarius, and I don't know how many of you go out and gaze at the sky at night, or the moon, or the stars or constellations, but Jupiter is very, very visible in the sky right now. If you see one star shining in the sky, especially right now, it will be right next to the moon. That is going to be Jupiter. The brightest star you see right now in the sky next to the moon is Jupiter, because presently on an astronomical level, I think Jupiter might be in Aries and the moon might be in Aries, but astrologically speaking, they're both in Taurus. Okay, so if you pull up a chart, it's going to say Jupiter's in Taurus, I think 7 or 8 degrees still, and the moon is in Taurus right now. I don't know what decan it's in. But if you were to get one of those apps that you use to look at the sky directly, you might see that Jupiter, it might be in Aries, and the moon is probably in Aries, right? Because you're looking at it from an astronomical standpoint. But I say all of that because I was just out and about, and I was looking at, I was moon gazing, and the moon is beautiful. She's moving into her fullness. I saw a moonbow because it's gotten quite cold here in the UK. I saw a moonbow, and every time I kept on seeing this pink glaze. I'd see a moonbow and then it would move into pink, and at one point it even looked as if the moon was being held by these two hands. It was quite amazing to see, and it was at that point that I connected and I started to receive the downloads that there are rainbow bridge activations that are flooding the earth right now through this full moon in Gemini window, which would make sense because they're coming through right now while the moon is in Taurus. And of course, Taurus is the energy that connects you to your divine resources. Taurus is the energy that is over your biofield, your Taurus energy field. Your Taurus energy field holds all of the information, the gates, and everything that connects you to your ability to move multidimensionally and to access the resources that are yours. They're your birthright, right? So it's interesting because these rainbow activations seem to be coming through the full moon, coming through the moon right now as it moves into its fullness. And right now the moon is in Taurus. You know what? Let's pull it up and see where it is right now. Come on. 13 degrees Taurus. You can't make this shit up. 1 second, because I did this on the wrong one. Wrong tab. Didn't want it on that tab. Wanted it on this one. So open it up again. The moon is at 13 degrees Taurus, 22 degrees Sagittarius, Mercury. And the sun just entered 3 degrees Sagittarius. So we got the Mercury at 22 degrees Sagittarius. This is all about material contracts. North Node at 22 degrees Aries. Again, material contracts. We still got a 0-degree portal through Saturn and Pisces. This is still the gate out. Anyway, this is all very interesting to me. Like I said, I will get into the tarot astrology of this in the full moon in Gemini reading I post on Solarah Rises. But I wanted to take a look at it because I wanted to see where the moon is right now, as I was viewing it and receiving this download. And the fact that the moon, it must have been probably at like 12 degrees when I was out, but now it's showing at 13 degrees when I check it. So there are no coincidences there. 13 again, as I do this reading, is a tarot energy of Scorpio, right? It's the death card, number 13. Number 13, of course, is a divine number. It is the number that is connected to divine feminine wisdom. It's connected to the cycles. There are 13 moon cycles in a year. There are technically 13 signs of the zodiac. They in most occult traditions, there will be 12 in the one that they will utilize. And they will say it's because of Jesus and the 12 disciples, but this was implemented even before the time of Jesus Christ. So 13 has always been a deeply auspicious number because it's a true number that connects us to the divine feminine wisdom of seasons and cycles. And somebody, one of you shared with me a few weeks ago, a piece of information you came across where it was said that if we actually were to have exactly 28 days in each month, every month we would have perfectly 13 months, and maybe that's how it was supposed to be originally, before the Gregorian calendar, and before even, there was another one before the Gregorian one, but all of this stuff they did was to program us out of being in alignment, in full alignment with the true seasons and cycles, because it's not too different than what I was saying to you guys with like even the twin flame thing. It's not that twin flames aren't real, it's that the Matrix likes to take a little bit of truth but then distort it. And so they distort it in order to keep you out of balance, the balance and the alignment that you need to be in order to rise. And to also sometimes fool us into thinking we're rising when really all of that is being controlled. So even when you think about it, another download that was coming through today is our weather is not supposed to be like this. It feels like the reason why the northern hemisphere has such severe winters, if you look at the southern hemisphere, that is almost all of what they would call the third world. So we are supposed to have access to the power of the sun all year round. And so, there's even weather fuckery that has occurred in order to take us into lower states. You'll notice that in the winter season is when most sickness occurs. Well, why is that? Could it have to do with the fact that maybe we're not really supposed to live in these temperatures? That's, for me, is just conjecture. But everything that they've done has been designed to take us out of natural order, to confuse us. Even this fuckery with the changing of the time, there's no reason to do that anymore. Once upon a time, you could get away with it and say it was because, we were living pre-industrial revolution and people needed to, like the work hours, the darkness, all of that other stuff. Maybe they could have gotten away with that back then, but now there's literally no excuse for it other than timeline fuckery, which is really what they do, through the changing of the time around that equinox, when things are supposed to be back in balance for us window, right? So this Jupiter energy is interesting. It's coming out because if you've been rolling with me this week with my, the word for your day, I've been getting a lot of Ten of Pentacles energy, like from another deck, Milk and Honey. There's a lot of energy right now about the materialization of abundance coming through. And even today when I did a word for your day, I've spoken to you guys about this before, especially during Taurus season, about this idea that you are abundance. Abundance isn't something that's outside of you, that we have to reconnect with our I am abundant truth, as opposed to looking for it outside of ourselves. And that is because when you are plugged into who you are divinely, you are plugged into source, and you are plugged in therefore to your divine resources. And it feels again like there is a plugging in. As the matrix is plugged out, there's a plugging in for many of us divine beings. And the reason that the plugging in can happen now is because we've reached the point of the ascension where, because these energies are being unplugged, they can no longer siphon from these higher access codes that want to come in, and that we're being plugged back into, if that makes sense. So it feels like Jupiter is assisting, and what's interesting is that Jupiter and the moon they just came out of a conjunction. Yeah, because Jupiter is at 7 and the moon is at 13. So when I was out and about, the moon must have been at 12, maybe 11 degrees. So it was just coming out of that conjunction when I received that download that we're getting all of these rainbow codes and activations coming through this full moon as it moves into Gemini. And that's because Gemini is over divine contracts. But I was getting that download today while the moon is in Taurus, while the moon was conversing with Jupiter in Taurus. There is some kind of reactivation within your own energy field that is being made available to you to connect deeper with your true abundance, to bring it forth onto the earth planes in real time. Now, not for nothing, Jupiter is also the planet that when Saturn makes its decision on where you are in your own karmic lesson or dharmic review, then Jupiter is what then dishes out what comes as a result of Saturn's ruling. Jupiter and Saturn work together in terms of upholding law and order. So there's something here about it's almost like it's a Saturn and Jupiter energy working together. As Saturn continues to pull itself out of the 0 degrees of Pisces, it almost feels like karmic whippings and karmic rewards are happening right now. But as it pertains to you, it's connecting you through these rainbow activations to your ability to be self-sufficient, as it always was supposed to be, right? The Matrix wanted us relying on one another to continually promote energy harvesting. And it's not that we're not here to help one another, but the Matrix created dependency and disabled some in order that some others would have higher positions and would either look down on other beings or play savior. It was never everyone being autonomous and able to connect with their own power, and that is not in divine alignment. And so there's something coming through here, through this Jupiter energy, that is helping us to reconnect with our ability to be self-sufficient in the interest of thriving, because we were not sent here to survive. We've only been in survival mode because that's the energetic fuckery that the Matrix has been programming us into. But all of that is being broken, and we're being plugged back into our divine reality and our divine truth. And the Jupiter energy is also what helps us to travel interdimensionally. I think I mentioned that in the last video. Jupiter and Sagittarius. Jupiter is a planet. Sagittarius is the sign that allows for us to do that too. Okay. The last card that came out is 7th house relationship. So this is further confirming what it was I was saying about divine unions. But another thing that's been coming through, so I'm glad this card came out, because it's like they're reminding me to say this because I haven't been saying it. And I didn't say it in the video before last, and they mentioned it to me when I was done. Your gateway system. You are a being that is full of gates. I spoke about this in not the last reading, the reading before. You're full of gates that connect to stargates, right? And it's a frequency thing. How you are able to access those gates is based upon your frequency, which is why the Matrix wanted you at a lower frequency in order for them to access, to use your energy to access certain stargates, although they couldn't get to the higher ones because they didn't have the ability. That's a whole other thing. They didn't have the frequency to get there, but they could get to certain stargates using your energy. So this whole process has been about calling back your energy and getting back into alignment with your true frequency, which connects you to your the true operation of your gateway system that exists within your energy field. It's how you move your light body through the cosmos. Okay, you are, for all intents and purposes, I've said it before, you are a spaceship. Okay, on an interdimensional level. And so for many of you, for many of us, the reason we weren't able to come into union was because of the disabling of our gates. So I don't know how many of you this is going to resonate with. I know it will resonate with quite a lot of you, for the mere fact that I've had many of you who I've done one-to-one work with, or even those of you who've emailed me, tell me that this is what occurred for you. But in 2020, in the middle of lockdown, right before the eclipse window, or maybe like right around the eclipse window that summertime, when the nodes were still in, the North Node was in Cancer and the South Node was in Capricorn, and we had 4 moons in Cancer that year. We opened up the year with a full moon in Cancer, we closed out the year with a full moon in Cancer, and we had 2 new moons in Cancer, smack in the middle of the eclipse season of that summer. Now, the Cancerian and the Capricorn axis are very much connected to the energies that set the ley lines of the earth, okay? And it has a lot to do with your gateway system, but it also has a lot to do with how you utilize your emotional energy, because frequencies are established through emotions. What they call vibrations are emotional energies. So fear, guilt, shame, they're all emotions. And where you stay, where you choose to vibrate and hang out, is where you then establish a frequency over a period of time. So really, the way I've been shown it, a frequency is established by staying in a certain vibration. Okay? So if they can trap you into fear, guilt, shame, those lower energies I like to call the trauma trifecta, they are the energies that you must program a person in order to control their narrative and their reality. It's what abusers do. They trap you in fear, guilt, and shame so that you can't leave the abusive dynamic. If you can trap a person into those lower energies, you can control their narrative and their reality. Now, the other thing is, if you can get a divine being living from a place of fear, guilt, and shame, then the energies that they are feeding the grid lines, which they are naturally connected to, will be those energies. Therefore, not allowing true high frequency energies that want to expand the earth to actually be implemented, because the very beings who are here to stream those high frequencies in and to anchor them into the earth are living at a really low vibration and are established in really low frequencies, right? So I hope I'm trying to simplify this and make it make as much sense as possible. So I hope I'm doing that. But the Cancerian energy is all over your emotional foundation and your ability to therefore either live in those lower states or learn how to use your own emotional reality to climb into a higher frequency, and that is operated through the Cancerian window. Now, I say all of that because a lot of the time when they fuck with us, it's through the energy that when they fuck with us in order to mess with our emotional resonance and our ability to climb higher, it will be through Cancer energies, whether it's through Cancer season, when the moon is in Cancer every month, and the big one will always be when the North Node is in Cancer. The North Node was in Cancer in 2020 in the lockdown, and the North Node was also in Cancer in 2001. Think about major world events that literally crippled the earth. Okay? North Node in Cancer. Okay, now this is important because the North Node in Cancer, there's also an energy here that's very important for divine unions. So I say this because back in 2020, in the height of lockdown, Cancer season, North Node is in Cancer, many divine couples were coming into alignment with their stargates, with the stargate they needed to connect to together to walk through. Okay? Their gateway systems were connecting. And they did all manner of things, even the introduction of 5G. All of this stuff was designed to take us out. So this will be, especially, you may have noticed this. One second. Oh, it's my kids sending me funny memes. You may have noticed this. If you were bridging the gap in 2020, if you had been on a, what they call a twin flame, partnership, or a divine partner, divine counterpart, divine partners, whatever you want to call it, if you had been on that journey 2020, you may have felt the gap between you and your divine partner closing. You may have felt you getting closer. You may have even begun to come into union. Okay? Because on an energetic level, your gateway systems were coming in. This is why they had to do what they did that year, because everything was happening too quickly and they had to find a way to shut it down also. Okay? So they fucked with our gates through that Cancer season. And so come fall, around the full moon in Aries, the equinox energies, divine partners that were supposed to come into union, once again, their stargates and their gateway systems that were to come together to meet at a stargate, they were completely disheveled. Completely. And so what I'm getting here is, not only is this a window, because remember, the full moon in Gemini is about divine contracts. It's about closing something out also, completion, getting rid of something for something new to be born. It's also a window of fruition. Something's coming into fruition, right? These activations that are coming through are also assisting the joining again of divine partners, their gateway systems, to meet at the correct stargate where they were lost before. So remember, you are gates. You are a series of gates. And when you are divinely aligned with whatever frequency that you are climbing to, there's a gate that you can connect to, a stargate, on so many different levels, including the gates that connect with beings. And then there are stargates that bring people together for certain purposes. This is how they've been showing it to me. And so the stargate that is needing for you and your partner to connect to, that you couldn't before because of the fuckery, that energy is being removed and dissipating now. And this is why the 7th house energy is here. And also a lot of it is, again, with the Scorpio at the bottom of the deck. It's because of them fucking around, again, with their spell work through the equinox window in September, right through Scorpio season, where they were trying to prevent these activations, these angelic activations from coming through that were here to help you. And so what they've done is they fucked themselves over. And now the very thing they were trying to prevent, they've gone and they've sped up. So while they were trying to deactivate you from your angelic DNA activations, what they ultimately did was they unplugged themselves from any and all help they can receive anymore from the angelic realm, even if they weren't properly, using it. In other words, their opportunity to turn away from what they've done now, they've closed that gate on themselves. Some of them still had a window for repentance. They don't anymore. They don't. Whew. This was a difficult one. A lot of density to get through. Where do you want me to go? Because I'm going to close this out now. I'm going to close it out. You know what? I never use this deck because it's so freaking cumbersome. I never use it on, I've never used it on YouTube. I've used it for one collective reading I did on my SUBSTACK. But I've never actually used it for a collective reading outside of that. It's the Syrian Starseed Tarot. For one thing, the cards are really huge. They're like huge. And they're really difficult to shuffle. Look, I cut the cards and look what's at the bottom. I'm not even going to go into it. I'm not. Should I go into it? Ooh. We've got the Adept of Crystals. Oh, look at this. 6 of Flames. That's the 6 of Wands. Those codes that they tried to steal from you through this window of harvesting that came through the 8-8 portal, they are going to be materialized. The Adept of Crystals in this deck is the Knight of Pentacles. Whatever it was that they were trying to stop from materializing, it's happening. And it's happening rapidly, a lot faster than what it would have been had they just left it alone. And the reason I say that is because the Knight of Pentacles, it flew out, but it didn't fly out completely in the upright. It was somewhat in the reverse. And so when I was tuning into the energy, that's what it is. It's the Knight of Pentacles is about something coming forth and materializing, and it has to happen, right? But it tends to be a slow thing, a slow burn. But they said to me, no, it's materializing and it will occur, but now the speed has picked up. Okay, so that's what I have for you. I hope these downloads and readings and this reading was helpful. Oh, one other thing, I completely forgot. Please do make sure that you check out Nicole Connor at the Grand Rising Experience on Substack. Nicole and I just did a really beautiful podcast together. We recorded it about 2 weeks ago, and it just came out, I think, on Wednesday, the first day of Sagittarius season. The link for that is on the community board. I will also link it below this reading. Please go make sure to check out that podcast and also check out Nicole's other offerings. I wanted to put that out there. But I wanted to say thank you for being here. If you've made it this far with me, if you'd like to know about how you can work with me one-to-one, whether you would like to donate to the work I'm doing or, connect with me on Substack, all of the links will be in the description box below. But I'm going to send you off now with love, joy, peace, patience, stability, focus, drive, certainty within your own soul of who you are, who the fuck you are, and what it is you're here to do. And I just wish you every beautiful thing under the sun that is ultimately, it's your birthright, and it is yours for the taking when you are walking in the fullness of your power and your truth, because you are living from that place, without shame and with minimal bouts of doubt. So I will see you guys again soon. Until next time, be well.